Good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to give everybody a minute here. And make sure we can see everything live. It's kind of rainy out today. I'm just going to trim something while we give everybody a minute here. We've got lots of beautiful Ranger products today that we are having fun with. All right. Hello, Paola, Michelle. Hello, Desiree. I'm just going to turn this out. And how are you guys doing today? What are you up to? Is it raining? We've had a lot of rain this week and the past weekend. But it's really nice to get the rain. We always need it, especially here in Alberta. So we can't complain. And all the leaves and everything are out. And so it is very nice to see everything so nice and green and spring-like. So I thought I'd choose some nice bright spring colors today. I'm just cutting out this flower while we give everybody a minute to pop in. And I thought I would show you how to make a mixed media tag. So sometimes I find that I see the finished product and it's hard to understand how people have gotten to that. So it's nice to kind of be able to see the process, see that it's not that difficult. And I'm using these OLFA scissors. They are nice little fussy cutting scissors. They're stitching scissors actually, but they're nice and sharp and small and nice to be able to get into the little areas. And I was going to do this before I went live, but you know, sometimes just time gets away. So let's see. Hello, Melissa and Charlene. Hello, Magdalena. All right, let me finish this and then we are going to get started on this tag. Ranger, we are using some of their products today and they have so many different products that do so many wonderful things, and you can definitely mix and match those together. So get out your paints and your scribble sticks and your pastes because you can layer them. And I think the secret of kind of layering things is that you just want, there we go. You want to think about what you need to put on first and your base. So that's kind of, you know, where you're going to start. Hello, Nancy and Barb. So what we're using today, we've got some Ranger Dina Wakley collage paper and collage words. Then we've got the assorted tags. These are white tags for mixed media. These ones are the Dina Wakley brand from Ranger. Then we've got a Dina Wakley stencil from Ranger as well, and these neon scribble sticks. And I thought that, so her paints, the Dina Wakley Ranger paints, we've got Gnarly, Turquoise, and Stoked. Always great names that Dina picks for her products. And I thought the fun neon colors went well with the Simon Hurley neon lunar pastes. So we will use that too. I picked a lot of colors that kind of go together, and even though they're different products, they're going to match together. So we've got the Archival ink, and these are the Dylusions Archival ink. They Archival are permanent, and so you can, use watercolor products over them, and they're not going to move anywhere. Hi, Vivian. So we've got a couple different colors there. I'm not 100% sure. I think this is Dina Wakley washi tape. If not, she has ones that are very similar, but I think it is. I took it out of the package and you know how that goes. Then we've got some adhesive dots from Scrapbook Adhesive by 3L, as well as some foam tape. And we've got some Altenew enamel dots. And we've got some Stampers Anonymous stamps. So we're going to just combine all those. And then we have some Collage medium, which is Ranger, and some Distress Spritz. So lots of really fun products. The Spritz is going to give us that pop of shine, which is really nice. Spring Creek, Nevada. Very nice. Hi, Margaret. And what is your weather like today? So we're going to set this a little bit to the side, and I'm going to show you how to start. This is really not hard at all. This is the tag that we are going to make. It looks like it has lots of detail to it, but those collage sheets are really going to help us out when we add those layers. Hello, TT. Hello, Glenda. Right, so we need our mixed media tag there from Ranger. And we are going to start with our Dina Wakley acrylic paints. So for the moment, we're going to put everything else just to the side. And we need a palette knife. So this is just a plain palette knife. Ranger does have some great palette knives as well. This might even be one from Ranger. Just not 100% sure. And then I've got the Distress Sprayer, which I'm really liking. You can use it to do little splatters, or you can use it for lots of things, and it seems really easy to control. So I've been using this for a couple months now. From France, that's wonderful. Hi, Doreen. I just watched Doreen's mixed media Wednesday in the VIP group. And if you haven't heard of that, you can check out the Creative Scrapbooker VIP group on the Creative Scrapbooker page. It's our birthday month, so there's a really awesome discount if you want to have a look at that. So just saying. So we're going to take some of these acrylic paints, and I am just going to put a little bit on. You don't actually need very much. It does go pretty far. Hi, Yuko. How are you today? And I'm just going to, I've been using these paints, so with the cover off. So sometimes you just stick a little pin in there, and you can squirt it off to the side if you feel like you don't want to press it hard and have a whole bunch of paint go crazy. These have really nice little nozzles, and I find as long as you I give them a wipe before I put them away usually, and then I don't have any problem. But if I want them to go a little bit smoother, then I'll just grab a pin and So I'm just adding a few daubs of paint. Let's wipe this off. I did attempt to paint my nails before going live, but when you're doing mixed media, I don't know that there's a point. Lots of my friends and people that I know have like beautiful acrylic nails, and I think about doing that sometimes, and then I just think like, Well, I'm crafting and cleaning all the time anyways, like I don't know. So I don't. So I'm just going to take the back of my palette knife and I'm just going to spread out this paint and you can see how smoothly it spreads. So this mixed media tag is really nice and smooth. And I'm going to do kind of one color at a time. And then as I start going, I can mix the colors. And you can mix these colors together to create colors. And then I could wipe this off, or I can just go into my blue, and then some of that blue is going to be purple. And then I'm going to just add a few spots of color. I'll leave a little bit of white space, and then you can kind of just have it how you like. I think I'm going to leave it like that. So we really didn't use that much paint, and then you can just kind of wipe off your palette knife so that it's not dried on there. Then we're going to give it a little bit of a dry, and another favorite thing of mine right now is this Ranger Heat It craft tool. Hello, Fabian. You can emboss with it. It does get hot enough to emboss, but it seems to just diffuse the heat, and I really love it for backgrounds. So I can just start to dry, or you could set it aside if you're, at home just crafting and want to do something else. It's going to dry really quickly because we don't have a thick layer of paint on there. And it will dry a little quicker too if you pick it up and then the heat is going through it. So I'm not holding it in one spot enough to kind of make that paint bubble, but really, I mean, this is mixed media and I don't think you can do anything wrong. Hello, Angela and Donna and Vivian. What is everybody up to today? I'm so glad that you guys popped in. All right. So that's good enough because we are going to be covering some of this up with the collage sheets. So I've got collage paper. It's a nice thin tissue sheet from Ranger and the collage words. These happen to be the Dina Wakley ones, and I don't know if so. This is painted marks, and you can see there's a whole bunch inside this package. And then this one is, I don't know, it just says collage words. And so I just started kind of going through and deciding what collage words I wanted or what collage I wanted on my paper. So I felt like I really liked this paper and I wanted this to kind of be at the top. So I'm going to trim this and we can trim it after, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I really liked this with the words on it and these little squares. So then I wanted to use this kind of here. So I'm just going to trim this off. This piece we can use on a different piece later, another time. So I would just put this back in my package and save it. And then I can just say, okay, I want it to kind of be torn. How I like to do it is if I have an edge at the side and the bottom, I'll leave that straight. And then I want the other pieces, the other edges to be torn that are on my tag, just so I don't have like a rectangle of something in here. It looks more organic and almost like a stamped image. So then when you put that on, you can kind of see, okay, this is what it's going to look like. I'm good with that. This one here is going to be at the top. And we're just going to, again, just kind of tear it. And then we're going to get that effect right there. So that's how we're going to start. And it's already looking really fun just with those layers of collage paper. You kind of, you don't have to think about, okay, I want to add all these different paint marks. You're adding the collage paper, it's softening that paint that's in the background. And when we were at Carnival, Doreen did a beautiful, so Tiger Russo did a beautiful mixed media tag demo, and she had paint and then a piece of tissue, and it's just amazing how much that changes that paint that's underneath. So then I'm going to use Distress Collage Medium. This is matte, and it is a liquid um, collage medium. And we're going to just start putting this on. I'm going to just squirt it on, and then I'm going to use a paintbrush and then just brush this on. This is a really quick and easy way to add collage pieces to any of your tags. So it's clear, it's going to dry clear, you're not going to see it. I'm going to, we can either let this hang off the edge, or we can kind of do that because it was a little bit wonky on the edge, and that's fine. All right, so it's on there, and then I'm going to come in and add any collage medium kind of in little spots where I might need. And then I can add collage medium over, and that just almost seals the top of it. You don't have to do this. You can just put it on, but I like the way that it almost becomes, or it does kind of become semi-transparent when you add that collage medium over top. So we see the background. Isn't that fun? Hello, Roberta. Hello, Maria. Everyone else who popped in. And once that dries, then anything that's hanging over, we can trim that off. All right, and this dries really fast. Like not fast enough that you have to rush to get everything on here, just you don't have to worry about, because it's a liquid adhesive, that maybe it's going to take a long time. I'm actually going to just tear it around this reinforced area. There. And then we'll add a little bit on top. And this way you can also layer things, and it creates a little bit of a resist as well. All right, so we've got our two areas there. Hello, Barb from Utah. How are you doing? And I love that. I mean, you could just, if this is the look you're going for, you could stop there, but you know that we are going to keep going. Then we're going to come in with our words. So we've got lots of different words in this, and there are words that are white printed on the tissue. So if you had an area that had dark, you could put that on, but I felt like on this background, the black printing is going to show up definitely more. So let's see. This is nice. There's two here. I want to have something that's, I'm going to use this one for the top, and then I want something that's not going to be totally overlapping the black areas, or we won't see the words. So that one is a little bit bigger than I want. I'm just going to tear, and that just gives us that softer look. All right. That looks good. And then the same thing, I can just add this collage medium. Once you're done with the collage medium, because it is like a glue, you're going to rinse out your paintbrush, but it's fine to just continue adding. And isn't that nice? Like it just looks like it's stamped on there. So beautiful. Hi, Judy. Hi, Mary. And then I'm going to choose something that's a little bit smaller. So, but I want it to go this way for this one. This one could work. Secret, keep going. So that might be, I love this one. You are worth it. This is a fun one as well. If you haven't seen Dina Wakley, you definitely should check out her Facebook page. That's nice too. So let's see. I think I'm going to go with this one. She does demos on her Facebook page and she has different classes and stuff, and she's so fun to watch. She just gets into this groove and she has this talent that's incredible. And this one here, I'm just going to make this a little bit torn, just so it's not completely flat. All right, let's put this here. Okay, and this can layer right over here. And then we have the collage. That's kind of the second layer to our tag. And so we're going to just give it a dry. I'm going to rinse out my paintbrush because I don't want that to dry on my paintbrush. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do, we get this out of the way. Okay, pull this up. Let's give it a dry. Then we're going to get out our archival ink. So this doesn't take very much to dry. It dries pretty quickly. When you guys are crafting, what are your go-to colors? I find that I really, if I'm not sure what colors I want to use, I would gravitate to pink, yellow, and blue, like a turquoise blue, because you can mix all those and they still create nice colors. And I love the bright colors. So that would have to be my favorite. So I'm going to take the archival ink and we're just going to go around the edge just to give our edge a little bit of color. So I've just got a sponge and the dauber. So this can just kind of go around the edge a little bit and then I can lay it down and pull it in. And this is going to be a permanent ink, so whatever water that we put on top, it's not going to move. And then we've got the blue. So the pink is bubblegum pink, and these are the Dylusions Ranger Archival ink, and Calypso teal. Diane as well has these just amazing bright colors. Okay, let's get a blue one. And then I'm putting some blue around the edge too. I'm not being like super careful, and I'm just adding a little bit of detail around the edge. And that's kind of all we need those colors for. Then we are going to come in and do some stamping. So we've got these stamps from Stampers Anonymous. So these ones are the Botanic Collage. I love this set. They've got the flowers in it and the butterflies, and then we can stamp the butterfly separately. We're going to do that and pop it up. And I love using the script in the background. So this is one of my favorites. So we're going to stamp with the Archival ink. Hello, Amelie and Ons. And I just have this on a block. Because it's mixed media too, I think that you really don't have to stress if the image doesn't stamp perfectly. So I'm going to stamp this kind of here so we can see the butterfly, but we can still see the words. And just give it a nice firm press. And we've got the butterfly there so that we can see that outline and we can paint over it. And then I'm going to focus more on the words so that we can have some of that text showing. So we'll do some text there, some up here. And then I thought we would turn this around and get a little bit kind of here. And that's probably, and if you feel like there's any areas where you wanted to add it in, you can just stamp kind of a second generation stamp, and that is going to give you a little bit of a softer look. And then while we have that stamp out, I have some Creative Scrapbooker Super Stock. So it's a really nice thick white cardstock. I think it's 140 pounds. And we're going to stamp, I didn't need to ink those words, I just wasn't paying attention. We're going to stamp the butterfly so that we can stamp and cut out that butterfly. There we go. And if you're ever wondering how to clean off this archival ink, the archival ink cleaner from Ranger is really nice. I just usually put some water on my cloth, put some of this on, and then wipe the ink off. And it cleans it so that it cleans it pretty good. It might still be stained a little bit, but nothing is going to come off onto your other ink pads. You know what, before we cut that out, I'm going to go ahead and color that. So let's color first. We've got the Dina Wakley Scribble sticks. These are very fun. And I'm going to spray some water droplets because how I want to apply them, these are water soluble. So I want to apply them directly, but I want the stick to be wet. So I'm just going to take, I'm going to do blue. I'm just going to take my stick and I'm just wetting the end of it. So I'm just rubbing it in to kind of get that color activated. And you can see that it becomes a little bit darker once it's activated. And then we can go ahead and color our butterfly. So this is going to be the outside of the wings. We are going to cut this guy out, so really not a big deal if we're out of the edges. And I just go back in and dip into the water. Okay, so that's the blue, which is so pretty. And then we've got green I was going to use for the outside. And even though these are neon, these scribble sticks, these ones are the neon ones, there's different colors available. Because we're going over the black, you have a little bit more muted color, which is very cool. But I love these colors. I just feel like they're so nice and bright, great for spring. Is anybody a gardener? Have you started any of your gardening activities? Okay, so I'm gonna dry this because I want to cut it out. And we're not using, like you could stamp on a watercolor paper, but I'm not doing a whole lot of blending So I find this works really nice, and I like how smooth the super stock is. And you can pick that up straight from Creative Scrapbooker's website. And then let's just clean this up. All right. So then I'm just going to take these are those OLFA scissors from OLFA Crafts, and they have really great tools as well for quilting. They've got the grid rulers, which I actually use quite a bit in scrapbooking, but they've got the grid rulers and the cutting mats, and they've got great cutting knives. So definitely good quality tools. Nice to check out. I use the cutting knives and the grid rulers a lot for foils as well, to kind of trim my foils if I'm using those on a project. And when you're cutting, just move your paper. Don't try to worry about moving your scissors. I'm not going to worry about these antennas. I think he's going to be fine. Nobody's going to notice he's missing his antennas. Which, are they antennae or? All right, so then we have our butterfly, and we want to go in with our black ink. So I have a sponge here with the black, and all we're doing is going around the outside. And you don't think that it adds that much, but just adding that shading on the outside, around the outside, is such a nice effect. So there is our beautiful, you could sit down if you are in one of those times where you're not sure what to do, stamp a bunch of these, cut them out, a bunch of images, color them with your scribble sticks, and these would be great as embellishments on like a scrapbook page. So I did the same thing. I just used the pink, a little bit of purple, and then the green. And you can mix those scribble sticks too. So if you wanted a different color green, you could add in a little bit of blue or yellow. Yeah, so don't be afraid to mix your supplies. I'm just going around the edge again, just to give that effect of a finished edge instead of a little bit of white area. And I was not really that careful coloring in and cutting my image. I just cut it out. So you can kind of see that it's still fine. All right, so we've got our two images. We'll set those aside for a minute. Then the next step is we're going to come in with our stencil. And this is a Dina Wakley stencil as well. Let me see if I can see what it's called. It's called Bumps. Isn't that funny? They kind of remind me of like houses or scallops. So whichever way you feel like you like the way they face is the way that you use them. I'm going to use them like this. I love that it's a really nice big stencil. This covers the whole tag. And so then I can figure out what part I want and not have to keep moving it. The Lunar pastes are beautiful. They're beautiful on white as well as dark cardstock. They are just incredible on black cardstock. But what I want to do is add a little bit of color, but I don't necessarily want to have a thick opaque layer. So I'm going for more of a thinner, translucent or semi-translucent. Hi from Ontario. Hi, Dawn. Hello, Charlotte. I'm glad everybody could pop in today. So then I'm going to take these sponges that I already used for the archival ink. Those are going to be my sponges for the Lunar paste. So this is a way that I really like applying Lunar paste. I add just a little bit of water just so I can dampen the sponge, not like soaking wet. And then I spread the paste on it. So we've got that Lunar paste on there. And then I can come onto my tag and just lightly smoosh it around. And I'm just kind of moving down in like a diagonal motion. You can add it as much as you want. So that's going to be how much I add there. You can still see through, but it's giving you a really nice color. And this way as well, it dries really quickly. So if you decide to use the paste through the stencil, it is gorgeous. And just set it aside and let it dry. I think you can use the heat gun. Sometimes if you have like a kind of a clumpiness, I will just take it and smush it a little bit on my craft sheet just so I have a little bit smoother application. And then I can just sponge that on. Again, kind of a diagonal pattern. If I wanted this a little bit darker, I can just come in and add a little bit more. And it's not a bad thing either. Like if you do have a little bit more and you find some of those stencil areas are a little bit thicker, that's kind of fun too. And you can smoosh it or dab it or okay, then we're gonna pull that off. And then we have this fun layer and the Lunar pastes, as they dry, you're gonna see that beautiful mica shimmer. So that's going to add some shimmer. And then you just want to make sure that you are wiping your stencil off if you don't want that stuff to kind of stick on there. So I just take my cloth. These things I will just throw into a little bit of water and then they're not going to harden on there. This is a really easy cleanup with water, and there's lots of tutorials on YouTube on how to use the Lunar pastes. Simon Hurley is really great at doing lots of demos. So we're just wiping and just making sure it doesn't matter to me if my stencils are stained because that just means that I've had fun using them, but I'm just wiping it off so there's not a bunch of clumps of stuff on there. So we've got our layers. Now we're just going to do a little bit of drying. Hello, Anne from Norway. I missed your comment. And Carol from coastal North Connecticut. And Judy from New Brunswick. Nice. I am from the Maritimes in Canada, from Nova Scotia. And now I live in Alberta, in Calgary. Okay, we don't have to go crazy. We'll just do that. Then our next step is we're going to go ahead and add some washi tape on. So like I said, I think this is Dina Wakley washi, but if it's not, I know she has some that's kind of similar. I think it is though. So I'm just picking a spot where I can kind of have this along the bottom of the tag. And then we can trim that off. Get my hand under here. Okay, and then here. And then we'll just press that down. I love how then you can still see the text and the colors behind. That's great as well. And then we can come in here with this text print. And we're going to add a few little pieces of this. So even though this is wider, we can just trim it off and I can see right through it. So We'll just trim that. You could do this technique on like a panel and then have it as a card front that you put on. And then let's trim that piece off. We can just add, let's see here. Do I want it here or maybe I want it right? I'll add a piece here at the top. Just wherever you feel like you want another layer. If you wanted any more, you could do that. Do you see that? I have a little piece going down here on the other tag. So let's just do that. One more little piece. And we're just going to tear this so it has more of a torn effect. There. Do you guys like to cut your washi tape or tear it? All right, so then that's our next layer. Now we're going to come in with our white paint, do a few splatters. I wanted to add, you know what, we'll do the white. We'll do the white paint first and then we'll add our rickrack. So this is the Dina Wakley Media white acrylic paint. So I'm going to just squeeze a little bit out onto the craft mat. We are going to add water. So the more water you add, then the more liquidy it's going to be. And then I'm just stirring that around, mixing it around with my paintbrush. So just mix it up. You can add more water if you need. I want this to be kind of a loose watercolor splatter. So this I think looks good. So then we can just tap this on. And I love these white splatters. They're so nice. And I'm kind of keeping it in a diagonal. So I'm not going to put it all over the whole tag. I'm just adding some interest on pieces. And just coming down to the bottom. We forgot to color a little butterfly, so we'll do that in a minute. I think that's good. So then you just want to rinse off your paintbrush and wipe up your spot. Even though we're using a lot of mixed media products, it's really not messy. Like I mean, this might be pushing some people's comfort zone, but I think, you know, I mean, we're not making a huge mess. It's nothing that can't be kind of wiped up and washed off your hands. So we're going to dry this just because we don't want to smudge it, because I hate when I put splatters on and then I accidentally like put my finger in it and you've had this smudge. It just looks so weird. So I just want to make sure that I'm gonna try and have them pretty much dry. Plus we want to add on a few splatters of our Spritz. It doesn't have to be completely there we go. And there's a little piece here that I missed with the tissue and the collage medium. So I'm just going to use my finger to just adhere it. There we go. All right, so that's our splatters. Then our next layer, it's so fun doing all these layers. To me, this is like a chemistry experiment. So you do want to make sure that your spritz is mixed up. I always mix mine side to side. If you're seeing some of that mica on the bottom, then it's not quite mixed up. And there's a little mixing ball. I think you probably could just hear it now. You just want to give it a good mix. That prevents your sprayer from clogging. If you felt like you just wanted to splatter similar to the white, you could take the nozzle out and just tap it. But I feel like I wanted to kind of give it a nice spray. So then I always come in and just wipe off that nozzle and put the cover on. So here, can you see that beautiful? As it dries, you'll be able to see that shimmer, especially on the black. It just looks so beautiful. Let's dry this. And then we can color our butterfly. I should have probably done that before, but I got really excited about the splatters. But that's okay, we can still color it after. We just need to give this a little bit of a dry. Can you see that beautiful shine in the light? So nice. I think anything with a little bit of, you know, shimmer, or sometimes I just like to add stickles to the end of my project. I like to have something on it that's kind of glittery and shimmery. There is a few little spots that are a little bit wet, but I think that area that we're going to color is fine. So I'm going to come in. I want it to be a little bit different than the background. So I think what I'll do is grab, I'm going to grab the blue. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of water here. It's even mixing with a little bit of that Distress Spritz. That would be fun too, to mix your colors with the Spritz. And then you're going to get the color that is shimmery. Now the other part of our butterfly is kind of behind that, and I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, so that's the blue there, and then maybe we'll just come in with a little bit of the green and do the edge. Does anybody have any crafty plans for the rest of today? I am planning on doing a couple projects to do a little bit of cleanup in my craft space, because it drives me a little bit crazy if things are all over the place. I find that I need to clean up for my next project. Do you guys find that, or do you find that you just need to keep going? So let's just give that a little dry. And this mixed media tag paper is so nice. I mean, we've added lots of layers on here, and it really looks great. That green and blue is just adding a little bit of color to that butterfly in the background. Okay, and then we're going to add, we've got a little bit of rickrack here, some trim. So we'll cut this, and I'm just going to come in with this Collage medium again. I know that I want it right at the bottom of the washi tape. If you're gluing, you can use this for like metal embellishments and stuff. It just takes a little bit. So this, you're just gonna kind of leave it there. I press it down a few times, and when it's finally dry, it's completely stuck on, and then you can trim those edges. But right now it would move off if we moved it. And then we can come in and do our butterfly and our flower. So I like, let's find it here, the Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. I love their foam squares, so I'm going to use that on the spots that we're going to pop up. And some of this is going to be glued down, and some of this is going to be popped up. The butterfly we're going to pop up, so we'll put a couple on here. And then we've got these little thin areas. So the little thin spots, I'm just going to glue directly down. So some of it's going to be flat. I find that's helpful to do if you have um, some elements that are really thin, but you don't want to glue the whole thing down. You just still want to have a little bit of dimension. So we've got some of these things. I love this flower. Okay, and this is just going to be here. And then we can just push down the other parts that we have the collage medium on. Again, I would just come back in a minute and just make sure they're drying down, but then you've got that dimension on the flower and the leaves. And then before we put our butterfly on, we want to put on some gold thread. This is just cheap gold thread, but I love the way it looks behind things. So I'm just wrapping it around my fingers. Then the easiest way that I have found to get this on, I've got the adhesive dots from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. These are the 1/4 of an inch. I've got the dot that's on the backing, and all I'm doing is layering that thread on where I kind of pinched it together. Welcome everybody who's popping in, Donna and Rhonda and Zaida. And then I can turn it over and I can kind of decide where do I want this butterfly. So I'm going to put this here. Right now it's only attached with that one glue dot, but once I add this embellishment here that we created, then it's going to also be attached with that. And then we just want to add in a couple crystal dots. These are from Altenew. So I'm just adding 3 little dots in, and before I forget, I'm going to put the cover on that. So I can stick those wherever I want. I wanted them to kind of look like, you know, maybe a dewdrop or something. All right, and then on this one, I had this ribbon laying on my desk. It's just a piece of seam binding ribbon, which you can just color with your mediums. You can color it with the Scribble sticks or the Lunar paste. So I had that and I grabbed it and popped that in. So I'm going to have to do up another one to add. And here's our tag. And once that's completely dry, I'll trim that off as well. But just a really nice, fun tag. I think this would be so fun to add to a gift. If you had something, you know, that you're giving to someone special and wanted to, this would also almost be like an additional gift. So that is our mixed media tag. We would love to see it if you tried out this process with your supplies. Be sure to check out the Fun Ranger products that we looked at today. And we do have several different Facebook groups. There's the card making group and scrapbooking groups, and you can find that on our Facebook page. And we love to see what you're working on and what you're sharing. So definitely put those projects that you're working on in there. And check out the big birthday sale for Creative Scrapbooker Magazine that's on for May because that's our birthday month. And our new summer issue is also coming out, which is very exciting. Lots of amazing products, and that's going to be in stores soon, I think, and arriving in mailboxes. And then Carnival in Edmonton is also going on. So if you're near the Edmonton area, it's in Sherwood, make sure to pop in and you can do some shopping and say hi to everybody. So thank you guys so much for stopping in. I hope you have an amazing day and do something crafty. Thanks. Bye.